The truth is that the industry is full of games that follow the safe formula. Clair Obscur shouldn't exist because it disrupts that order. It is the game that risks too much and that, for that reason, is essential. It is a miracle that such an inflexible and well-executed vision has been financed and produced. We are lucky that he ignored that maxim of playing it safe. Clair Obscur Expedition 33 arrived with one of those premises that stick in your head. You know exactly the day you are going to die, and the game makes a point of showing the weight of that knowledge in the most intimate choices, especially in love relationships and in the pains of mourning. It is not an easy theme to digest, and perhaps that is why it moves us so much while playing. It's as if every dialogue, every decision, had a genuine urgency, a taste of farewell, as if the countdown were not only part of the narrative, but also a provocation for those who were playing. What is most striking, at least for me, is that Expedition 33 was created by a small French studio, which even without the indie label, challenges that rigid standard of AAA games. It is rare to see a large publisher like Kepler Interactive betting so heavily on the creative freedom of a smaller team, and the success of the game shows that this risk was worth every penny. You know that feeling when something outside the mainstream conquers a space that seemed untouchable? Expedition 33 is exactly that kind of surprise. In the midst of so many blockbusters that seem to follow the same script, this game arrives with personality and is not afraid to excite, to make the player rethink even the way they see time and relationships. The way the theme of announced death is worked on is not cliched at all. The characters deal with it in ways that range from selfishness to altruism, and the narrative only deepens more and more. With each new chapter, I felt as if I was reading a farewell letter, full of authenticity and vulnerability. Perhaps what echoed most for me was the delicacy with which the game portrays love in such extreme conditions. It is not that empty romanticization, but something that borders on despair, the desire to enjoy every second before it all ends. And when morning arrives, there are no easy answers or simple dilemmas. All that remains is to accompany the characters with empathy and, who knows, rethink some personal choices while observing their journeys. I completely understand why Expedition 33 deserves to be the Game of the Year title, especially for its personal impact and for challenging the rules of an industry that often prioritizes numbers and ready-made formulas. It shows that sometimes it is enough to give freedom and space to create something really different that makes you look at the video game screen in a more human way. If you enjoy deep emotional experiences and stories that stay with you long after they're over, this is a more than certain recommendation. The game dives headfirst into moral dilemmas that are not easy to digest, messing with the idea of life in a brutal and relentless reality. The question about having children in this scenario brings an enormous weight, because it puts on the scale not only the continuity of life, but also the emotional and ethical burden of bringing someone into a world where suffering and death are constant. This reflection is not superficial. It unsettles, discomforts, and it is exactly this feeling that makes the game so impactful. The way the narrative uses the inevitability of death and mourning as engines for the story is simply brilliant. It is not just a dark context to set the action, but a powerful tool to show complex characters, full of flaws and contradictory feelings. They are not perfect heroes. They are real people struggling to find hope and meaning in the midst of everything that is falling apart around them. The choice of chiaroscuro as an artistic concept, this union between light and darkness, life and death, love and mourning, brings a visual and symbolic layer that makes the experience even richer. This duality reinforces the theme of the game, showing that good and evil, joy and sadness, are intertwined in a way that is impossible to separate. It's as if every moment of beauty or affection is always under the inevitable shadow of loss. The humanity of the characters is what is most marked for me. They are fragile, make mistakes, regret, but still keep trying, even knowing that death is always there, waiting. This makes the game seem like a very intimate and deep conversation about what really matters in life when everything seems lost, and about how to deal with the fear and pain that come with the end. The game is not just a story of survival or despair, but an invitation to reflect on the most universal themes that we all face, even if in different ways in each life. This mixture between moral dilemmas, conceptual art, and human characters makes the experience one of the most memorable and emotionally powerful that can be found in games today. It's the kind of game that leaves you thinking long after you turn off the console. Clair Obscur Expedition 33 presents a mature and impactful narrative, which explores the internal conflicts of the characters in a deep and realistic way. What stands out are the balanced dialogues, which do not exaggerate the emotions, maintaining an authenticity that only reaches those who have gone through similar situations. This is reinforced by exceptional performances, which give life to these flawed and human characters, making the experience immersive and full of true emotion. Mystery is a constant element that works as an engine of the narrative, creating a tension that holds the player from beginning to end. The unanswered questions do not frustrate, on the contrary, they fuel debates and theories within the community, making each moment played generate a deep reflection. This construction of non-linear narrative provokes a different involvement, where the player feels that each choice and each discovery directly impact on the perception of the plot. The plot twists are among the best built I've ever seen, managing to reinforce the central themes of the game without seeming forced or gratuitous. These moments of reversal culminate in a devastating ending, which is engraved in the memory and underlines all the emotional power of the story. In addition, the description of the world around the player is impeccable, combining a detailed setting and an environmental narrative that helps to tell the story without using words, only the scenery and its visual nuances. The non-linear exploration of the map is another strong point and goes well with the modern trend of games that mix freedom with unlocking skills that connect progression to discovery. This gives the player a sense of autonomy and reward, making each return to the map worthwhile. And even in such a dense game, there is room for comic characters who relieve the emotional pressure with touches of humor in the right measure. Clair Obscur Expedition 33 is not just a game. It is a visually and emotionally rich narrative experience, which brings to the player a delicate balance between drama, mystery, and even moments of comic relief. The maturity of the writing, the level of the performances, and the way the world is built make this title a milestone that deserves to be played not only for the gameplay, but for the stories it tells and the emotions it provokes. The game stands out as a turn-based RPG that really catches the attention, especially for those who enjoy games like Persona and Final Fantasy. The combat system is much more than pressing buttons at the right time. It requires focus on quick-time events and a careful reading of enemy patterns. Right away, this already delivers a very interesting challenge that goes beyond the traditional, keeping the player attentive and involved all the time. The combat incorporates a satisfactory dynamic of risk and reward, where dodges and parries are not just defense styles, but essential parts to trigger powerful counterattacks, accompanied by sounds that give that pleasant feeling of perfect hit. This fluidity makes the battles a spectacle for fans of more technical combat, while keeping the emotion always high. When it comes to bosses, the game does well with creative and memorable fights that require constant strategic adaptations. A striking example is the stone boss, who simply gives up after you apply 152 parries, a detail that is both brutal and fun that reveals how well thought out these encounters are. This shows that the game is not content with the obvious and wants to force the player to think outside the box. Each playable character comes with unique and complementary mechanics, which allows multiple builds and game styles, opening space for experimentation and customization. A very curious example is Monoko, who gains abilities by collecting feet from defeated enemies, which adds an extra layer to the feeling of personalized progression. This diversity gives freshness to the gameplay and encourages revisiting the game to test different strategies. Overall, the combat of Expedition 33 combines challenge, creativity, and a meticulous construction that involves both technique and strategy, providing an experience that pleases both those looking for tactical action and those who like to delve into the design of the game. It is an RPG that stands out for being engaging and at the same time rewarding, bringing a rare sophistication in the genre. Expedition 33 really stands out for its evident artistic inspiration, combining art, acting, dubbing, and art direction in a way that creates a unique and striking visual identity. This combination not only defines the tone of the game, but also transforms into a true character within the experience, involving the player in an immersive way. This attention to artistic details makes each scene and moment transmit genuine emotions, contributing to the authenticity of the game. Despite these qualities, the game is not perfect and some flaws appear, especially in the balancing of difficulty and in the quality of life offered to the player. However, what is striking is how the game itself seems aware of these limitations, not hiding its stumbles, but still keeping the focus on what it does best. This demonstrates a respect for the public, who can perceive where there is room for improvement while still enjoying the main experience. It is in the story, in the gameplay, and in the artistic direction that Expedition 33 shines with more intensity. The narrative is powerful, loaded with emotion and complexity, while the game mechanics, despite the small problems, are designed to keep the player always engaged and challenged. The artistic direction ties all this together with a visual identity so strong that it is impossible to dissociate the game from its aesthetics. This awareness of its own flaws, combined with the strength in the main areas of the game, creates an experience that feels honest and passionate. It is not the typical extremely polished game, but a work that bets on the courage to be original and emotionally true, even with some technical mishaps along the way. In the end, this combination between inspiration, artistic brilliance, and the humility to recognize its limitations transforms Expedition 33 into a memorable game that is worth the player's time, especially for those who value games with soul and distinct personality.
Nothing to you. We should be on the same side. Let her go.